This is Dr. Vaishali, and I'm reading from the book Substance of Homeopathy, book written by Dr. Rajan Sankaran, and part 3, the Nature Classification. Introduction. The homeopathic drug classify according to their source into the mineral kingdom, plant kingdom, animal kingdom, no source, sarcos, imponderabilia. In this section, we shall try to link this classification to drug picture to see if we can learn about the remedy from the knowledge of their sources. We shall study drug from the particular source, for example, from animal kingdom or mineral kingdom, etc., and determine the feature common to that source. A summary of this is followed by the comparative analysis of three major kingdoms: mineral, animal, and the plant. A major part of this section is devoted to the mineral kingdom, which I have studied in greater depth than the other kingdoms. The periodical table of elements offer a ready and natural classification of the mineral remedies, and we shall use it in our study. I have only briefly touched on the plant and animal kingdom and would like to study them in the greater depth in the future. The notions are dealt with within the second sections of miasm and shall only be touched upon here. I do not have much experience with the sarcodes. However, I have introduced another imponderable as a remedy, music. My work on music as a healing agent concludes this section. Now, the mineral kingdom, the metals as a performer. Some time ago, I was asked to teach Argentum metallicum. At that time, I had very little knowledge of this remedy. I had hardly used it, so I read some books and tried to understand it. In Fatax Materia Medica, I read that Argentum metallicum prominently affect the larynx. Symptoms appear insidiously, slowly, lingering, progressing, and there is a loss of control over mind and the body. In the mind, I read loss of mental power, talkative, disinclined to talk in a society. I read the modality words while speaking, singing, mental strain. The respiratory symptoms are hoarseness and aphonia aggravated using the voice. Total loss of voice in professional singer. Extremities, upper limb, feel powerless, writer's clamp. I asked myself the meaning of these symptoms. Most of the book I read gave the symptoms. Total loss of voice in professional singer. What does that mean? It means that the person sings till the lost his voice. That means, first of all, he must be professional singer, or in other word, he should keep on singing a lot and then he lost his voice. And again, when we go to the mind section, we find talkative and also we have the symptom vivacity and desire to talk to someone. So this is the man who need and likes to talk. He is a professional voice user like a professional singer, professional preacher, or even a speaker. A writer is a person who needs to speak, express himself. Then you have other side where he lost his voice and his mental power, his ability to write and develop, lost his mental power and ability, and to write. Sorry, he loses his voice, his mental power, and his ability to write and develop the writer, and so further in the develop the writer cramps. So I understand that Argentum metallicum is a person who needs to perform through the expression, either through voice, intellect, or writing. At this point, I could see the connection with the Argentum nitricum, a remedy which I have used often. Argentum nitricum has tremendous stage fright disproportionate to the situation, and this demonstrates the need to perform and explain the anxiety that he feels before such a performance. I understood that the main theme of Argentum is performance and expression. Around the time I went to buy a car, I was offered different colors and also had a choice of buying a silver colored car. I was told that the silver car would cost several thousand rupees more than the other cars. I asked the dealer what would be the advantage of this silver car. Did it last longer or have any other advantage? I was told that the silver car was a show. I could immediately connect with with the Argentinum. Argentinum needs to this Argentinum needs to for a needs for the show, for performance and expression. Speech is silver, while silence is a golden. In Herring's guiding symptom is found the inclined to talk a lot and argue with the great facility. Debate until there is loss of mental power and an inability to think. A good orator is one said to be silver tongued. Coincidentally, under the mouth section, in Herring, we find the tongue has a silver coating. Person who have an inclination to be cheerful and talk. Agendum metallicum is known to be useful in the professional singers. Singers is intellectual exercise involving as well expression, performance and the show. Having understood this much, I was now waiting for the patients who would come with this feature so that I could test my concept of this remedy. Soon I got a case of a businessman around 35-year-old who had been suffering from the chronic hoarseness of the voice since last 5 months. His wife His wife was with him and she tried to talk for him as the doctor had told him not to talk. But the patient stopped her. He insisted on giving the whole history himself, even though he could hardly speak. He is a businessman, and as his job is to sell things, he has to talk the whole day. He convinces people. He can convince anyone to buy anything. I gave this man Argentum metallicum 1M, and 2 weeks later, his voice was much better and soon returned to normalcy. This case paved the way to a new understanding, a whole new concept about not only Argentum metallicum but all the metals. Argentum metallicum is a performer, an intellectual who needs to perform, who needs to show. I knew that the aurum metallicum is the gold, is also a performer, but this is a much higher performance. Aurum has a high sense of responsibility and duty. He is industrious and can feel very guilty, depressed, and even suicidal. If he hasn't performed his duty or fulfilled his responsibility, Argentum, on the other hand, is one who needs to have control with himself, which mentioned in the rubric fear losing control, who needs to perform and to show. So I understood that even if the degree differ, the common theme between the Argentum metallicum and the aurum metallicum is the performance. I started to is performance. I asked myself a question: is performance is common theme of the all metal? At this point, I came across the periodic table of the element. I was surprised to see that the Argentum and aurum are in the same group and come just one below the another. I was further surprised when I saw palladium and platinum one below the other in the periodic table, since both are very well-known complementary remedies and have a common symptom of delusion that is not appreciated. I started finding more and more connection in the periodic table and horizontally as well as vertically. For example, platinum and palladium are both very high performer. Platinum much more than the palladium. In the periodic table, palladium is found above the platinum and argentum above the aurum. So as the metal get heavier and heavier, they move into deeper and deeper performance. Now ferrum is the fourth period on the first line of the metal and is concerned again with the performance but also with the defense. Sword and knife are made up of this metal. The second line of the metal, fifth period, like palladium, argentum, have more to do with the performance and show. For example, palladium has the rubric longing for the good opinion of others. The heaviest of the metal like platina, aurum, mercury, thallium and plumbum from the third line means sixth period and have enormous performance and defense. They are mighty and strong and can be found as head of the organization or the country or of the country. The first line, which consists of magnesium, ferrum, cobaltum, nickelum, zincum, thus have to do with the defense and performance, but to a lesser degree than the heavier metal.